Hey peeps, Tyler here with a video inspired by Willow Talks Books. I'll leave her video in the description about gender affirming care saving her life. This is my story. Gender affirming care has also saved my life. So, I've mentioned in some video before how in January of 2023, I was at my lowest. I was already in therapy, because I had to be in therapy for 6 months to get HRT. But I started therapy because of that, but I still was really scared because of various reasons. And because of various reasons, it was just terrifying. But in January of 2023, I realized I didn't really have a choice. I had two choices. I had reached the point where I was going to unalive myself if I didn't transition. I realized I'd reached that point because I could not stop thinking about it. And I'd been that depressed for over 2 decades. I'm 35 right now. And I had been that depressed for over 2 decades, and it had reached a point where I could not take it anymore. And that's when I kept thinking about how I could possibly do it, every which way. And I was determined. I guess that's what gave me the push to actually go for it, that and finding out about Plume. I no longer use Plume, not because of them, but because I found a doctor I can actually see in person. But Plume helped me get started on that as well. And I don't know how many states Plume is in. I'm in New Jersey. I know that also other states, but I don't think every state because of laws. But so on February 2nd, 2023, I started T. And even though physical changes obviously are not immediate, I've obviously changed now because I've been on it for over a year. Though obviously I'm still going to change more because a year is nothing. Puberty and whatnot takes years, but my mental state was immediately different, immediately happier, feeling like I was finally me inside. I don't know how else to describe it. And also some other stuff I haven't mentioned that she made me think of with her video is I was on trazodone for 11 years. In September, specifically September 8th, 2012, is a date I will never forget because I had a house fire. My husband, who passed away in February of 2021, well, back in September of 2012, we weren't married yet, but we were living together, we were engaged. And we were also renting a house, but the house caught fire when I was asleep and he was at work. It was during the day, because I'm a freaking night owl. So I woke up and I was trapped. I woke up because I smelled the smoke. There wasn't a smoke alarm upstairs. There was one downstairs, but it was too far away for me to hear. So I woke up to the smell of smoke, and by then I was trapped. And we lived in the middle of freaking nowhere. It's been over a decade, so I can talk about it now, but it still gets to me a little bit. But we lived in the middle of freaking nowhere, where cell phones did not work at the time. I actually since met somebody who recently who told me they have a cell phone tower near there now, so that's no longer true. But we live there. It's a very small town in the middle of nowhere. They had no cell phone service, except for some reason in the middle of my attic and in the middle of the road. I'm not even shitting you. But anyway, because of that lack of cell phone service, we had to have a landline. So, and I had, landlines as a kid, but by 2012, people usually didn't have a landline. But we had to have a landline then. And so I had a phone right next to my bed. I picked it up, called 911, explained the situation and where I lived, and then the fire cut the phone out. I had just enough time to tell them where I lived. And the fire people that go there are actually where I'm at now, which is another small town, but not as small, and in the middle of nowhere, and a ways away from where we were. So it took the fire department a while to get there, and at some point I realized I couldn't breathe, so I go to the window. I'm on the second floor, and so I open the window because I can't fucking breathe at this point. I'm also in my fucking underwear. And at the time, I was, not even out to myself. And the neighbors are all looking up, because even though it was the middle of nowhere, it was a small town, I had neighbors. They were all looking up because it was the middle of the freaking day. It was like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And one of the neighbors that my husband had actually talked to because he had been outside. But I, never came outside. So I didn't really know him very well. But my husband had talked to him, friendly and whatnot. He jokingly temporarily stole somebody's ladder, but after he saved me, he gave it back. Obviously, because they weren't there. He just took it from the yard, saved me, put it back. But yeah, he came up the ladder. I couldn't think at this point because I've since talked to, doctors, the one who's like, yeah, you were at the point you were about to pass the fuck out. And I'm sorry I'm going into all this, but I was about to pass out apparently. But I didn't pass out. I just got very close. And when he got in there, I couldn't really see him or anything. All I could mention was, I'm naked, because my brain wasn't fucking working at this point. As if that fucking mattered. But he took the sheet off the bed, wrapped me up in it, and shoved me through the window, where then the fresh oxygen got to my brain and I was able to finish getting down the ladder. And he got out after me. We did not get burned. We did have, soot all over our lips. I was coughing up smoke for a while. But we did not get burned. In fact, right after he got out of the window, fire shot out of the fucking window. We barely made it out. And the fire people were still not there. Because like I said, it was a ways away. So he saved my life. And he wasn't even a fireman. And he even mentioned that wasn't the first time he saved somebody from a fire. Like people were talking to him how, hero, brave. He was very humble about it all. And he also refused to go to the news. Don't know what the hell the news would have done with it. I imagine it probably would not have been good, somehow. Because he was a black man and I was, a white woman. Somehow I don't think that would have gone very well on the news. Black man saves white woman, I don't know. But he was very humble about it, and they put me in they asked if I wanted to go to the hospital. I realized Harley, my fiance at the time, would make me go if I didn't go then. To which I told him later, he's like, yeah, he would have. So I just went then, and that they put this thing on me, the breathing mask. I coughed up soot for a while, which hurt. And at some point, the news just got there really quickly. They wanted to fucking talk to me, but they never got to me because they stopped them from getting to me. They didn't even ask or whatever. They just like, no. They just been through a house fire, been traumatized as fuck. No. We lost everything. We lost 3 kittens who were 6 months old. 2 boys and 1 girl. They were all in the same litter. And the girl had just been fixed 10 days before, and it takes 10 days to recover from that surgery. I still feel so fucking bad about that. But I didn't know. They were probably dead before I even woke up. I do have a cat and a dog still that I had at the time, but they were outside. In fact, I tried to get Mandy, the cat, inside. Before I went to sleep, I was a bit worried about her, but I'm like, I know she'll be okay. She's been outside for a long time before. And the fact that she was outside is the only reason she's okay today. And because we rented, as I mentioned before, the dog had to be outside. He is actually going to be 13 in a few days. Well, I'm filming, I don't know when this is going up. But I'm filming this April 25th, 2024, and his birthday is April 30th. He's about to be 13. So, the 2 adult animals survived because they were outside, but the kittens were inside. And they were only 6 months old. We lost everything. And anyway, because of all that, I know that was a lot, but because of all that, I couldn't sleep because of the nightmares. And I went to the doctor. I'm like, I can't sleep because of these nightmares, which are obviously understandable, but I need to fucking sleep. And they're terrifying. And so she gave me trazodone. It helped me sleep, got rid of the nightmares. At the time she put me on it, I didn't even know it was an antidepressant. I learned that at some point. I'm like, oh, that probably explains a lot. You know, helping me. And so, now that you know the story of how I got on trazodone, and why, fast forward to 2023 when I started testosterone. I was immediately happier. And happier than I've ever been. I was no longer wanting to unalive myself, but my anxiety was going through the roof. Turns out you can be an anxious disaster mess, but also happy. Those 2 things are not mutually exclusive, and I am proof. But for the first time in over 2 decades, and I repeat, I'm only 35. For the first time in over 2 decades, I didn't want to unalive myself anymore. And I haven't since. I finally want to live. And I'm off trazodone now. Because I don't know for sure if this makes any sense. But I think the trazodone, I still have some anxiety, and I probably always will because of various other traumas. But I think the trazodone and the tea were somehow interacting in a way to make me more anxious than ever. And of course, we also had some issues with my tea dose, which we've since lowered, so that might have not helped. But as soon as I weaned off trazodone in September. The entire month, I weaned off trazodone, just like the doctor told me to. And I still had a horrible, 4 days of withdrawal in a way I have never felt before. And it felt like hell. But after those few days, it felt like I had the flu. But after those few days, I felt much better. And I knew it could not have been the flu, because if it was, I would not have been better that quickly. So that was just a withdrawal. It was hell, but I got through it. And then since then, I felt so much better. That's several October, November, December, January, February, March, April, because it's almost the end of April. That's 7 months now. I have felt amazing. Another thing that I noticed that she said that I'd also already noticed, but I hadn't bothered to look up to see if anybody else had experienced this, was my ADHD also has gotten worse. It's very weird, and I've said, like, I think before T, it was like my autism was kind of masking my ADHD. Now it feels like that's flipped. And I'm having to channel my autism routines to get anything done so fucking strongly because my ADHD just... But it feels like it's switched. It's weird. Like, I'm still me, but finally being happy, it changes things. Like, I'm still me, I'm still autistic and ADHD. But I guess, like, a balance or something has shifted, or whatever. I don't know if I'm wording this right. But yeah. And the fact that I was wanting to unalive myself for literal decades. I had written notes, I had thought about it. I never actually attempted it, but I had gotten as far as, like, planning it to some degree. And now I no longer am. Now I actually want to live. That alone should say it all. I had top surgery almost 3 months ago, February 8th. I've been doing top surgery recovery updates because I am still recovering, but it does look like I am recovering. But because I was born with withdrawal association, I got a lot of medical issues. I'm a very slow healer, but it looks like I'm going in the right direction, so I'll get there at some point. And now I just feel so me in my body, and it's weird because it's like I still, like, forget that my chest is flat now, where I'm still recovering from top surgery, and I had those things for over 20 fucking years. It's like my brain still hasn't fully processed that they're gone now, and I find myself thinking, oh no, I need my binder, or I need to hunch over, and then it's like, wait a minute, they're gone! Yes! I'm pretty sure at some point I'll stop forgetting that they're gone and just be content, but for now I get a jolt of, like, euphoria of joy every time I remember that they're gone. I mean, I get sad thinking they're still there, but then I realize that they're not. I mean, so I try and sit a bit taller now. I do have scoliosis, so, like, I'm always going to have that problem. I was born with scoliosis, so... But I don't want to, like, hunch now to hide my chest. Which was, probably making my back issues even worse than they have to be. And also, where I've been on YouTube and whatnot since 2015. My original videos are gone now because of reasons. But there were times when it's like, yeah, I don't really care about looks. It's shallow. That's not what matters. And while that principle, I've actually talked about this before, that principle is still, yes, obviously, that's still what I believe in. At the same time, I had, like, a unibrow. I obviously could shave it or whatnot, but if I don't, I get a unibrow. I used to have a unibrow. And I didn't care. And I said it was just from, like, a moral principle thing, like, I don't give a fuck. No, bitch, you did talk to my past self. It's like, no, bitch, you don't give a fuck because you're depressed and you want to unalive yourself. That's why you don't care. Because I was too depressed, and now, look, I have 2 eyebrows. Magic! And best of all, now I'm finally... I mean, the economy's also scaring me into it as well because of the economy, and you'll understand that in a minute. But I'm also motivated now to chase, like, my dreams. I am disabled physically in multiple ways. I can't have a job. I have a fixed income. Not going to go into that, but... And, you know, stuff's getting tighter and it's getting scarier. And I've always written stories. I'm okay at the moment. I'm not trying to, like, scare anybody. But, you know, the economy. And so, if things keep going the way they are, I've always written stories. I've always wanted to write. I've always wanted to be a writer. But, you know, those same fears that a lot of people have, oh, I'm not good enough, blah, 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 excuses, and etc. Well, now I'm actually happy enough and motivated to chase my dreams. I am currently over 12K into my rough draft now. I'm finally starting to get somewhere in this novel, this fantasy novel that I'm writing. And I currently have another idea that's jumping out at me for something entirely else that I'll see if there's anything to that. But I am still working on my novel, and I plan to self-publish. I don't exactly know how long that'll take me, but that's my plan. I'm actually motivated to do stuff now. Now that I'm happy in who I am. I think everything I've said should say it all. Gender-affirming care has saved my life. Literally. I have nothing else to say. But yeah, I would also recommend watching her video, which, as I said in the beginning, I will link in the description so you can hear her story and how she mentions that appealing to, or like talking to people about your life experiences, it's personal. She explains it really well. And yeah, people can connect with it more. So that's my story. It was a hell of a road to get here, and I'm finally happy. Gender-affirming care has literally saved my life, as I know it has saved others. Please watch her video as well. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.